Hello, it's Keith here, and this is the 8th in the platform-specific series of my 68,000 assembly programming tutorials. Now, we were looking at bitmaps some time ago, and now we've been moving on to the joystick, and we looked at the X68000 last time. This time we're going to look at the Atari ST. The Atari ST is a bit different to the other systems because unfortunately, and much to my frustration, we can't actually read in from the joysticks without actually using the operating system. I'm not a fan of using the operating system because it means that we're writing very platform-specific code that's reliant on the OS. Coming from the 8-bits, I always tried to ignore using the OS, but in this case, to the best of my knowledge, we have no choice. So we're going to have a look at how to do it this time. Now, in these tutorials, we're reading in our data and processing it in a common format. So no matter what system we're working on, however many joysticks and buttons it's got, we're reading in the same format. And this comes from my Z80 series originally, where we were using just a single byte, and the lowest bit was up, then down, then left, then right, fires 1, 2, and 3, and the top bit of the first byte was the start button. And then I've extended that in my 68,000 tutorials so that any extra buttons are loaded into the second byte of the word. Now, with the Atari ST, the way we're working with it, we're just reading in up, down, left, right, and fire, the classic Atari joystick. So unfortunately, that's going to be more limited than, say, the X68000, which had a lot of buttons. But it's going to be enough, at least, for our Grime 68,000 game that I wrote. Now, let's start off by actually seeing the program running. So here is the program running, and it's showing a monitor to the screen. And the ones I want you to look at are D0 and D1. I've now got two joypads in my hands here, and if I press up on one of them, you can see the bottom bit is now set to 0, down, left, right, and here's the alternate joystick, up, down, left, right, and then if I press the correct fire button, there it is, there's fire button on joystick 1, and there's fire button on joystick 2. And as I say, unfortunately, these ones aren't reading in more than a single fire button, but you can see the principle. We're there able to read in from our joysticks and show them to the screen. And of course, if we're reading in and getting it to the screen, that means we can process those buttons and turn them into movements of a game character. And that's what Grime 68,000 did. So that's our code running. How does it actually work? Well, here's the sample code. We've got a command called allow joysticks here. This initializes the joysticks, and this is quite important on the Atari ST because we're having to negotiate with the operating system to get the data from it. Then we've got a command called read controls dual. We do this when we actually want to see the state of the joysticks, and that will get the data from the joysticks. And then we're just running a monitor to show the registers to the screen. It's a nice simple way of showing the results. Let's have a look at the actual code. Well, here it is. Now, we've got a few different sections here. We've got an initialization section, which starts up. We've got something called the joystick handler. Now, this is actually being called by the operating system as a kind of interrupt, and this is getting the data for us, and it's storing it into this joystick data buffer. Now, that just gets the data ready for us. When we call our read controls dual, which is when we actually want to see the result of the joysticks, this is getting that data from that buffer and then processing it and converting it into the format we want, which is up, down, left, right, and fire in the bottom bits of the word. And so that's what we're doing. So let's have a look at what we're actually doing. Now, you'll see we're using some trap commands here. Trap commands aren't something we're going to see very often. These are system calls, and what they will do will depend on the system. Now, in the case of the Atari ST, I'm trying to document them on my website. If you go to the Atari ST page of my website, you'll see there is a list of the traps. Trap 1 is for GEMDOS calls. We aren't going to be using any of those. Trap 13 is for what's known as BIOS calls. And trap 14 is for X-BIOS calls. We're going to use a BIOS call and an X-BIOS call in our initialization today. Now, this is just a very simple summary here. Now, unfortunately, these commands are quite complex, so I'm not really able to show the full details of them within that simple table. That's just a quick lookup. What I think you need to do is look at the Atari ST internals document, which you can find easily on the internet, and I've linked it on my website. And you can see here, it gives the details of all of the commands that can be called via traps, and there's an example here, and the parameters you have to pass will be shown there. Now, if you just want to make the joystick work, you don't need to know this. You can just use my code. If you want to tweak my code, then I'm going to discuss the commands we use today. But if you want to really understand all of the options and what all the traps do, you're going to have to look at that internals document. So unfortunately, that's just the nature of the beast in this case. So let's break down the actual code that we're running as part of the initialization and see what the function calls we're running are actually doing to the system. Now the first one, quite curiously, seems to be almost optional. Now I got this original code from an example I found on the internet somewhere. I can't quite remember where, but this sort of came with it. And what it seems to be doing is it's actually setting up the joystick and telling the system, actually telling the keyboard, the joystick's connected to the keyboard, it's telling the system to return the joystick state. Now I suspect maybe the operating system's also doing this so that the joystick is already reporting, but I've left it in because I'm assuming that it's a good idea to have it. It's certainly not doing any harm. So what we're doing here is we're using trap number 13, which is the BIOS trap. So trap 13 is calling the BIOS and telling it to run some commands. Now the commands it runs are actually pushed onto the stack before that. So we kind of have to read backwards here. So when we call trap 13, we want to use command bconout, and that's command number 3. And you can see here, trap number 13, the BIOS, number 3 is indeed bconout, and you can see it writes a character to the device. So we're writing a character to the device. Well, what device are we writing to? Well, we're writing to device 4. You can see we pushed 4 just before we pushed the 3 because we're working backwards here. And device number 4 is apparently the keyboard and also the joystick. So we're going to send a byte to the keyboard, and the byte we're going to send is number 14, and this is effectively a command, ikbd command 14. Well, let's have a look at those. You can see there's a list of ikbd command here. And you can see, if you want to know about these, see page 74 of Atari ST internals. Now, I incorrectly said command 14. It's command hexadecimal 14 there. I apologise for that. But you can see here, it's telling it to return the joystick movements. So this is effectively turning on the joystick. Now, once we've run a trap, we need to remove the data that we pushed onto the stack. Now, we pushed 3 entries onto the stack and each was a word. So we need to remove 6 from the stack. And we're doing that by adding 6 to the stack pointer here, which effectively removes all of these. So that's what we're doing there. Now what we need to do is we need to get the operating system to pass those joystick parameters to us. What we're going to do is use trap 14 this time, which is the XBIOS. And we're going to use command 34, this time not in hexadecimal. Let's have a look at that. And this is a command called keyboard vbase, and it returns what's known as the vector table for the keyboard. This is effectively a table of addresses that are called at certain events within the operating system. The one we're interested in is the joystick vector one, which is at offset 24. So what we're going to do is we're going to use XBIOS trap 14. Now when we run trap 14, we are passing the parameter 34. That will return the keyboard vector table in D0. We then need to remove that entry from the stack, the number 34. So we add 2 because we were using a word, 2 bytes. And then now we've got that vector, we're backing it up into a buffer here, just in case we wanted it later. We don't actually use it in this example, but we will do that. And then we're moving D0 into A0 so that we can use it as an address. Now what we're going to do is we're going to back up the current joystick vector. This would be important if we were returning or we were doing other things later, but again, we're not actually using it in this case. But we're moving from offset 24. Remember, offset 24 is the joystick vector, and we're moving that into this buffer here, old joystick vector. Then we're moving our joystick handler code, the address of it, into that address, 24 offset in A0. And I've just actually noticed that this code was using the old format of having the offset outside of the bracket. So I've just corrected it to the more modern format here. I apologise for that. I really hadn't noticed that. As I say, this code was sort of based on some I found on the internet, and I obviously hadn't updated that there, but it will work either way, it seems. So there we go. Now, here we've selected our joystick handler, and this means that this joystick handler code will be run automatically by the operating system. So we never actually need to call this routine. The operating system will call it for us. And then what we're doing is we're loading in from offset 1 within the address A0, which is passed to this routine automatically by the operating system. And we're storing joystick 1's value here and joystick 2's value just here. Now we're actually assuming, in most cases on the Atari ST, I think it's common for the mouse to be plugged into port 0 and the joystick to be plugged into port 1. So we're actually going to assume that the second device is the first joystick and the first device is the second joystick, on the basis the first device is probably usually the mouse. So that's just a slight quirk there. If you don't like it, you can just swap these over, but that's the way we're going to be working. Now, when player read controls dual is executed, this is where the game wants to actually see the joysticks. And of course the operating system is running this routine automatically, so we don't need to run that. We're always going to have data ready for us in these addresses here. And so just like before, what we're doing is we're using this process1 command to pass the data from each of the joysticks one after the other. And we're moving joystick 2 into D1 here, and then we're processing the first joystick just here. So we're just using the data from that buffer. And that's all that changes the 2 times we run this command. And all it's doing is it's shifting the fire from the top bit to the 5th bit. Effectively what it's doing is it's shifting the fire bit out of the top of the byte into the extend bit. Then it's shifting all the other bits in the byte to the left so that they are now at the far and left-hand side of the byte. Then it's shifting the extend bit back into the byte, and then it's shifting all the bits back to the right. So we've taken this bit from here, put it to here, and now everything is in the format that we expected for our functioning. And then all we need to do is now flip the bits, because we're expecting all the buttons that are down to be 0 and up to be 1, and that's not the way the Atari ST works by default. Now, because of the OR command here, we've effectively set all of the other bits to 1 already, and that's all we need to do to get our joystick buttons into the correct format for our routine. Because if you remember, this is our standard format across all systems, whether they have the joystick buttons or not. So that's all we need to do to get the joystick working, at least using the firmware. Now I'd be quite interested to hear if anyone can suggest a way of directly accessing the joystick via the keyboard without using the operating system and the traps in this way. I'd really be interested to hear it. I couldn't find one when I was writing Grimes 68000, and this did work well enough. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching today, and goodbye.